92.3 Inspiration FM. Smart Uzechi is my name, and I'm glad to welcome you to Rethinking Lagos. And today we'll have a very special guest in the studio. Deji Akinpelu joins me on the program. Deji, good evening to you, and welcome to Rethinking Lagos.
Good evening, Captain Smart. Nice to be back here. And we're coming back at such a good time where we're talking about the issues around governance and how our city should look like and what it should be. Nice to be back on Inspiration FM.
It's so good to have you, and what a time to actually have this program, because everybody in Lagos actually will want a better Lagos.
Definitely.
As we said earlier, a Lagos that is livable.
Yeah.
A Lagos that is inclusive, regardless of where you're from, because this is a cosmopolitan city. Yeah. There's hardly any town or clan in Nigeria where you don't have someone from who is in Lagos. So Lagos needs to be inclusive, and of course we're here for our sustainability. Yeah. And that's what we're going to be trying to canvas on this program.
Yeah. So in the next couple of weeks, that's what we're going to be looking at. Lagos of recent was ranked the second worst city to live in the world, in the ranking of about 172 countries by the Economics Intelligence Unit. Second worst city to live in. Very sad. Despite all that we have been trying to put together and we are trying to do, that's still the ranking that the city comes out with. Is talking about being inclusive also speaks to the fact that regardless of your economic, your social status, the city should be able to accommodate you. It's great for us to have visions of making our city better, smart city and all of that, but it's also very, very important that we build a city that everybody finds a place, you understand, regardless of what you earn. Particularly Lagos is very, very interesting. 70% of the economic activity or the population, 60 to 70% is made up of informality. People who have this businesses that are not very much formalized. You understand? So when you're planning the city, it's quite important that you give a place for this for everyone. The aspirations of saying, okay, hey, we really want to make our city become the next Dubai is something that we may want to rethink and look at and begin to say, okay, hey, how can we give, and policies should also be directed at such. So if you're doing housing, how are you providing housing for the majority? You know, I was driving down and I saw a poster that said affordable education. So affordability is something that we have to define.
Yeah, it's relative, really.
It's relative. So if you say you want to make something affordable in Lagos, affordable housing, affordable education, you have to define it. Affordable for who?
Yeah.
So it's about telling people, like, ask your politicians or ask the person who is asking you for your vote to say, what do you mean by affordable? Yeah. Affordable for who? So which demography are you providing housing for? The 70%, the 30%, the 1% of the 1%, you have to define it. So definition is quite important. In terms of we making policies that are inclusive. Sustainability pretty much speaks to the fact that what are we going to do to ensure that whatever we are doing now, we are considering tomorrow first, and tomorrow is still going to count for tomorrow. So what strategic efforts are we making in terms of the city planning to ensure that it remains a sustainable environment, the projects are sustainable, the environment is sustainable to live in. So environmental considerations. You understand? Where is our funding going to in terms of transportation? Are we spending money? Are we spending more money in terms of you doing bike hailing services, or you're doing mass transit? You know, which one is environmentally more sustainable? Sustainability in terms of you're trying to provide housing, and lots of the general feeling that you have, or what you hear regularly, is lots of people coming to the city of Lagos
every day.
So there's that. The first thing probably they need is where to lay their head, which is housing. So because there's pressure of inflow, there's also the clamor for housing. So we see a situation now like, housing projects are springing up everywhere. But how sustainable are we approaching building houses? A whole lot of dredging and sand filling is going on. But what is the environmental implication for the city of Lagos?
Kind of an EIA, has to be done for all of these things. The environmental impact assessment on these things, and of course, talking about housing, a lot of homeless people in Lagos, under the bridges have become more and more, dangerous these days. Lagos State government is now talking about evacuating people who are finding homes, under the bridge, even shops, businesses there. The other day, Akinpelu Bridge was on fire, and people are actually complaining about losses. So the question is, were they supposed to be there in the first instance? So these are the issues.
These are the big issues. And when you now look at, you've analyzed the need. You're talking about homeless people and all of that. But in terms of practice, where are we directing our buildings to? What kind of structures are we building? You have housing projects with rooms and suites. Definitely is not speaking to these people that you're talking about. You understand? So when you talk about low-cost housing, mass housing, it really has to reflect, and you really have to toe that part. Not building houses that people will have to pay 21 million, 30 million, 40 million. No.
Then the inclusiveness will not be there. That we're talking about. It's not there.
You understand? So you have to be deliberate, and you have to be quite systematic. I don't have a problem if you want to build luxury housing estates. It's great. I don't have a problem with Banana Island. I don't have a problem with Eco Atlantic. But can you cross-fund from these housing projects to meet the housing needs of the other category of the people in the society, where you can do social housing, or for the targeted group that you have identified, the low-income group,
who are in the majority?
You understand? Who will live in the riverine communities around the city of Lagos? Could you have cross-funded Eco Atlantic, do some cross-funding from Eco Atlantic to build a new Makoko that will ensure that the original residents still have that place, and then tap into the economic opportunity of what exists in that space, which is talking about inclusive planning with the people. You understand? Definitely, for instance, we have our mortgage system is not one that is very great. Our people are still struggling. Even, I don't know, I can still pick up a mortgage with the small money that I earn. Okay. So, but we have our own people doing things their own way, regenerating their own spaces in poor communities of Lagos. Primary mortgage systems, working with developers in those poor communities. What opportunities lies there for us? Planning with the people in those communities to rebuild their own communities the way that will work for them within their own economic threshold.
The two calls that just came in.
Interesting.
Part of the issues you raised there.
They're part of it. She mentioned an ongoing demolition. Yes, definitely, totally wrong. Building on the power line and all of that, totally wrong. It's not what we're talking about. Those kind of things, the people should be moved away from such places. But in my own line of work in the city of Lagos in the last 5-6 years, it saddens me to have seen demolitions that took place in places like Otodogbame, where people were forcefully evicted from where they live despite a substantive court order. Otodogbame, you Google it, the story is there. The people till today, they don't have any compensation. December 31st, 2 years ago, people in Monkey Village in Oregon were forcefully moved out of where they live. I mean, a computer training center was totally demolished. A computer training center that has been built by an organization for the children who live in that community was pulled down. I mean, those are the kind of demolitions I'm talking about. Demolitions that are specifically and strategically targeted at low-income groups, riverine areas, is a subject matter of concern, and that we should look into. Because you want to build a very big housing estate in somewhere in Lekki, and you just have to forcefully move some people out of there, even when they have a court order, is not the kind of inclusive city that we are looking at.
What about another caller? Hello, good evening to you. Hello, can you hear us? Good evening. You try to call us back 0700 923 923 923. That's 0700 923 923 923. Then the second caller raised another issue.
It's interesting. The transport sector, the informal transportation in Lagos accounts for about 40% of the transportation that we experience in the city of Lagos, while walking accounts for another.
Walking on foot.
Yeah. Accounts for another 40%.
That's a sector now.
Yeah, it's a sector. I'm not advocating for Lagos to become Dubai. I want Lagos
to be better
for Lagosians, not Dubai, because I can't live in Dubai. Like I can't. The city is expensive. I can't live there, so I can't build a vision for Lagos to become like Dubai.
It has to be sustainable.
Yeah,
livable.
That's
inclusive,
that's just what I want. I want a city that is sustainable, that is livable. Lagos is not, and that's one of the big issues when somebody wants to paint to you that we are going to make it that fancy city. How many of us can live in that fancy city? How many of us can live in the UK? Your friends are living in the UK. They know but they are functional cities though. But you can make our city functional if we really address the issues. You're talking about the Agbero system. I mean, whatever chaos that is going on that you experience, the behavior, the mannerism that you experience is something that the government should rather address. But what we have there is pretty much something that is heavily politicized. You understand? They clearly have leadership, and that sector needs to be reorganized. The point I was trying to make is that they are very heavy, and they do a whole lot of the heavy lifting of transportation in the city of Lagos. While they account for over 40%, the BRT system, as big as it is, as long as it is, accounts for less than 13%.
Wow.
Way less. So that is a very critical sector that we should demand for change. You understand? How do you reform that sector? How do you get that sector reorganized? There was a new name that was given to the organization. Is it by rebranding? The government took an action, rebranded is it just by change of name for them? What are you demanding from the system? What kind of financing? What kind of training or retraining, or what intervention are you really doing? That's what we are talking about. You understand? Organically, the city has to grow. You can't jump from being 2 years old to become 10 years old. It's not possible because I'm a 40-year-old man and I admire this 80-year-old man or something. Then I would just want to jump in one day. It's not possible. We're talking about the train infrastructure that is being put together in Lagos, the red line and the blue line, and I showed you that there's supposed to be a green line. There's a purple line. There are about 5 other lines that we're supposed to have in the city of Lagos,
and we don't even have one yet.
It's just things are just about to. So we have a very long time to even put the entire rail infrastructure that we need to put in place. But however, the one that is functioning as of today, what is the reform that you are? Can government do it? There was a release of the new buses, the blue buses. There are over 75,000 small buses in the city of Lagos. So when you put in about 500, as an intervention, 500 versus 75,000. That's a drop in the ocean.
Yeah.
So you have to strategically begin to think like, okay, what role does... So private sector will always have a role to play, and that's where you hear the lingo PPP, public-private sector partnership, and all of that. But one of the big challenges I have with those models is that while government is supposed to stand in those arrangements to ensure that the people get a fair deal, that's not what we get. You understand? So people must come into public-private sector partnership. You have to begin to think about so private developers who are building luxury housing, how can you tax them on social housing, and what incentives will you give to them? So I'm saying, oh, you're a private developer, you're doing this, you're building the great Banana Island, you're doing this in the Atlantic, fantastic. What are you going to do for us in helping to provide social housing? Okay, if you do this, then we'll give you this incentives. You understand? So that's planning, because sometimes you begin to ask yourself, okay, where is the money going to come from? Where is the funding going to come from? This is creatively thinking, not like a private sector person comes and cannot even start the business because of the taxes and the requirements that is needed by government. And after they've paid all that to you, they will come and put it on you, who happen to be the public, because they couldn't strike a good deal with those who are in government. So you talk about water transportation. Oh, we have 18 new jetties, 17 new jetties, 20 new jetties. But the question is, how affordable is it? So if I'm going to move from Ikorodu to the island and I'm paying 1,500, I will say the jetty might as well not exist.
Well, that's it. The last caller, his comment,
valid point.
Hinged on housing and security.
So it's talking about
the shanties springing up, because there's some security issues there.
So that's also the meat. So a whole he didn't even say, I don't think he said security issues, but that is what people quickly associate those areas to with say insecurity. But there are human beings who live there, your driver, your carpenter, the carpenter that came to your house this morning to fix that your chair lives there. We quickly ascribe insecurity to those areas. And that's where the criminals are coming from. Criminals live in highbrow estates in the city of Lagos. One popular one was arrested 2-3 years ago, but he was talking about the economic value that exists in these places and working with the people, which is the right thing to do. What is the economic value of a makoko? What is there's fishing that goes on in that place that you call a shanty. Children live there. I've met with children living in those communities. I've seen them. I recently did a body of work on a documentary about the use of internet among young people in Makoko. And right there and there, I see graphics artists in that same community. So one of the things we quickly run off with is there are criminals who live there, which I think is rather unfair. You understand? You look at a whole community and you lump everything together and you say they are all criminals. If we have to do the work of fishing out criminals and addressing insecurity, let us address insecurity. But don't look at a place and label the generality of the people and say they are criminals. Kings, ballers exist in those communities. These people belong to... There is no community in Lagos that is not under a CDA. And the government meets with the CDA chairman. Thank you. Yeah, interesting point. Who is almost sometimes is like who is to be blamed, government or the people. But where I take it from is how the laws that you make, how does it work for the people? Is it working for the people or against the people? So you take a law like we have PSPs who go around and pick waste in the city of Lagos. While I will tell you that the model of having a PSP can work easily on the island, middle class areas. But that solution has struggled in low income areas of Lagos. So I pay my PSP every month. They come to pick my waste every week. Low income communities in the city of Lagos run on a daily basis. Waste generation is daily. Waste collection is supposed to be daily. You get it? The dynamics of the city, you can't use a one bullet to solve the problem of Lagos because you have different areas of Lagos. And if that may take me to local government administration. So a whole lot of things has been centralized and making it difficult for things to work. So instead of having a situation whereby every local government is working and developing its own area, working with its people, understanding the dynamics of the people, their income distribution, and making its own laws, doing its own waste management, you have a situation whereby you are making a blanket law for everybody, and it's not working. So see online, I see all the time people, yes, I'm totally against it. Don't go and throw your waste in the drainage system. Yes, it's wrong. But I've constantly had to engage with communities. How will this PSP thing work for you? Why are you still patronizing the cart pushers that the government has declared illegal? Because we generate our waste daily. We can't keep it. I have a very big tank outside my house where I dump my waste. They don't have such opportunity. It's daily for them. They rather see these guys on a daily basis and say, okay, pick my waste and everything. You can't. What you expect that will work in Ikoyi cannot work in Okokomaiko. No. So a whole lot of things is being centralized. We have a system of administration that is now, everything is Lagos driven. You don't even hear much from your local government. So the people can meet and say, local government, this is the way we want it. This is the permit. This is how much it would be. Growing up in the 95, I think Lagos Island local government launched the Golden Line. Adeniji Adele, I think, was the local government chairman of Lagos Island then. Transportation that you will speak to, that somebody is buying buses, was done by a local government. We've rendered our local governments totally useless, and they are not functioning. Whereas they're supposed to be the closest to the people. Understand, there are several things that have been raised. Maybe I should quickly address. Special status for Lagos. Yes, it's a valid point considering the amount of course, the people that come in. But also know that these people that come into Lagos, when we say the government has this XYZ IGR, that is where it is also coming from.
But that would be a huge legislative problem.
Yes, that's
absolutely legislation, and other people will soon start having that idea.
Yeah. So it's while it is important, it is also for you to learn to maximize what we have, and you block your revenue leakages. Where are we having leakages? Where are we having issues? It's like somebody who is not managing his income of 50,000 well, and say, the day I earn 500,000, I'll be sorted. You will never be sorted if you don't know how to manage your money. It is not about the more, but it is how well
you use the little you have.
Yeah, if we are able to generate all the income and our policies are not well directed to solve the problem of the majority, the health problem of the majority, the educational problem of the majority. I mean, it's great for you to build schools, but if children who live in slums don't have schools to go to, how sustainable is that? Are they not? I mean, it was Awolowo that said the children that you fail to train, they are the ones that will come after you tomorrow. So it is alarming in as much as, I think, particularly our middle class, we live we live in a self-help state. You pay for you organize your own security, you organize your own light, and we think it's all cool. You understand? As long as, I can live in that estate, Diamond Estate, Golden Estate, Jubi, whatever estate you want to call it, and it's all gated. What Lagosians, middle class, have been able to do is gate themselves in the community. But every day you have to come out of that gate, and you have to confront the son or the daughter of that man outside with the society outside the gate. And sadly, we are having such a big menace of them. You're talking about area boys, you're talking about traffic, traffic robbery. I mean, it is about some group of young people that government is not paying attention to. These are young people who dropped out of public school or never had the opportunity of going to public school. Have you ever tried to ask yourself, who is an area boy? Where is he coming from? What is his backstory? What failed system? These days, the middle class is very common for, you go to, so they tell you a child has a learning problem and you begin to walk around it. What about poor people? Their children too have learning problem, and a lot of them have dropped out of school. You need to go to some places in Lagos Island and you see how children who used to go to school no longer go to school. They're on the street. They're engaged in vices. Is there any intervention that you're doing to take these people off the street? It is good. We're building schools. We are commissioning schools. It's great. But the menace of area boys, who is going to take them off the street and do an intervention? Many years ago, I remember when I used to work in LTV8, some group of area boys then by the government were brought in and they were taught how to do carpentry. It was an intervention. They took them off the street and they intervened to empower them. Not through anything about establishing one employment agency that is so fanciful and all of that, but taking the bull by the horn and being more deliberate.
You've basically touched on so many aspects, but one aspect I would like you to touch on before you tell us about the upcoming program is the water situation in Lagos. Water.
I wish we started talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
But water is totally comatose in the city of Lagos. I mean, how many people actually have government water running out of their tap?
Do we really have government taps?
Yes,
in Lagos?
We still do. We still do. But totally, I mean, it's non-functional. I mean, people who live in Lekki, for instance, quality of access to water and quality of water is a big problem in the city of Lagos.
Someone once said that you live on the island, they supply you water from the mainland. Unfortunately, you're going to have to make your concluding statements now.
Yeah. So we're going to subsequent episodes are going to be dedicated to different sectors. We're going to be talking about water and what should be done. And I think water is one topic that Lagosians should demand an answer from government. Like, what are we doing? It can never be a foregone conclusion. Yeah. So some of the ideas that we've been sharing, we really want to do a public engagement with those who believe that they want to aspire to become something in the state in terms of governance. So we're having a policy briefing this next week, Thursday, 22nd of September. But you have to call in to register. So if you're probably aspiring to contest for any post, regardless of your political party or any affiliation, we are apolitical, we're not associated with anybody, you can come in, and the number to call is, just send your name to 0702 529 7139. Should I call it again?
Yeah.
It's as if there's a way you guys do it. 0702 529 713 9. So it's a policy engagement. So we have publications, research. Everything I've said here is born out of research that has been done. So we work with the academia, with researchers to analyze the situation on ground and come up with possible solution. And this is what it's about. This is not a figment of somebody's imagination.
All right.
There are things that we've put to test, and we are open to ideas. Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, Deji Akinpelu, for coming to the program today. This is Rethinking Lagos. We'll be back next Thursday at 4 p.m. Hoping you join us at that time. My name is Captain Smart. Have a good evening.